it started. Let's get it started in here.
Hiya, pal! All for one, and one for all! Yo, what is up there, guys? As always, back at it again for another video right over here. And of course, what we're going to be talking about is the latest episode of Tangled, the series known as Fitzherbert P.I. right over here. And man, any episode that has Flynn Rider, aka Eugene, and all that great stuff be the main character and focus sounds like a good time to me right over here. Okay, so this episode starts off, we see Rapunzel doing a whole bunch of different kind of poses and everything like that because she has to get ready because the artist known as Giovanni is going to come over here and create a little portrait for Rapunzel. Every princess, every king, whatever, that leads the kingdom needs to have one of these things. It's kind of a big deal, and Cassandra explains that, and Eugene is basically like, listen, it's just a painting, I don't really see what the big deal or whatever is, and he kind of pushes his painting to the side right over here, and the one painting that he pushes is, of course, of Robin the 11th right over here, and Cassandra goes on to explain that that painting is a super huge deal. It is one of a kind. It is the only known painting of this dude, which is really funny because I would think they would make like a photocopy of that or something, but nonetheless, the reason why he's called Robin the 11th is because he's got 6 fingers in one of his hands. So 6 plus 5, yeah, boom, there you go. Robin the 11th right over there. Cassandra's like, and Cassandra goes on to say like, listen, this is kind of a big deal, unlike you or whatever. And then Eugene's like, hold on 1 second right over here. Flynn Rider was a legend, he was a legend, he was the best or whatever. Then Cassandra's like, yeah, key words, were, was, before, not anymore. Which also kind of got me thinking like, yeah, you know what, you're kind of right. What does Flynn Rider even do now anyway? Yeah. So Eugene, being somewhat kind of offended or whatever, is like looking to Rapunzel. Rapunzel, that's not true, right? I'm still cool and everything. And Rapunzel, she's just way too focused on this portrait. She wants to get it just right. So ultimately, we see Eugene or whatever head to the smiling duckling or whatever. He's talking to his pals right over there, big nose and everything like that, asking them like, listen guys, I wasn't just a devilishly handsome, good look, stealing, lying, whatever. I mean, granted, I'm the best at it, but I'm so much more than that, right? Right, guys? And ultimately, they kind of basically agree with Cassandra. Yeah, that's really all you're really good at. I mean, again, what do you do now? So Flynn Rider, being kind of distraught or whatever about this, he goes to like a wanted sign. He sees all these little posters for jobs and all that great stuff. So he decides to go for a bunch of these jobs to prove that, you know, he can actually do something, that he's more than just a common thief. So he goes out for all these jobs, and ultimately it just completely fails. This one job that he takes of like a shoemaker or something like that, he even gets fired, not because he did a bad job or anything like that, but because of his record. The dude recognized him saying like, listen, you stole one of my boots one time, and then Eugene's like, wait, are you giving me the boot? No, you're fired or whatever. So Eugene ultimately kind of is a little bit upset about that. He goes back in the castle, sits down, ends up having a little conversation with Pascal, because we all know Pascal is the man to talk to when we got a problem right over there. But he looks outside the window and he sees somebody yelling, thief, thief. We see the thief running over here. Eugene sees the dude and where he's going, and Eugene has an idea of where he's going. He goes outside, he sees the guards, he tells the guards, listen, he's heading to the docks. Go to the docks! But the guards basically just kind of ignore him and is like, hey, he went the other way, genius. And then Eugene's like, nobody called me a genius, and gets away with it. So basically Eugene ends up going to the docks. We do see that the criminal is there. He trips him, he manages to capture him. Eugene has saved the day. We see the guards right over there. And then we got Eugene over there just being like, listen, man, I don't want to say I did your job for you, but basically, I did your job absolutely perfect. You see, you gotta think like a thief to know a thief, and it's the oldest trick in the book. Run the opposite direction and actually head towards the dock. And how does Eugene know this? Because he invented that technique right over there. So then one of the guards like, well, I'll be darned. Eugene fighting for the side of justice. Then a little click goes on in Eugene's head, and he decides that he's going to go ahead and be a guard. He goes and tells Rapunzel about his idea of wanting to go ahead and be a guard, because since he's so bad with authority, it would be pretty cool to actually be the authority himself right over there. And then we see Cassandra pop in, and she basically overheard everything Eugene said right over there. And Cassandra's like, listen, you really think you stand a chance of making it into the royal guards? And Eugene's like, well, let's see. Devilishly good looking, athletic abilities on peak, making a complete fool out of every single person here. Yeah, I think I can handle this. And Eugene is pretty darn confident with it. And then Cassandra goes on to say that the teacher is, of course, her father. We all know the father and Eugene don't really have the greatest history together. So ultimately, we go ahead and we see Eugene. He's at the tryout with basically only like 2 other people. And we see Shorty's here. Shorty's here for whatever weird reason. I don't know if this dude even actually has a name, but Eugene calls him Shorty, so we're gonna call him Shorty right over there. He's just there because, I don't know, comic relief, whatever. I don't know, he was pretty funny in this episode, actually. But nonetheless, Cassandra's dad is basically saying, like, okay, this is boot camp, whatever. We're going to see if you can pass these tests and everything like that. Or I'm going to make your life a living nightmare, especially for you, Eugene. So we can see that the big man still obviously has a grudge against Eugene right over there. But Eugene has actually been doing a pretty damn good job. He's acing things. He's jumping over people. He's completing the obstacle. He's doing that one-handed push-up and everything. Eugene is doing a solid job. But then we go to this part where Eugene has a little crossbow and he's shooting at all the enemies, and then the boss ends up pulling this rope, trips Eugene, and Eugene ends up hitting a guard, not a real guard, like a little cardboard one or whatever. And the boss goes on to tell him, haha, first rule, Ryder, always keep the safety on or whatever. So we can clearly see that, yeah, again, the dude still has a major grudge against Flynn Rider. We see Cassandra and Maximus checking this out, and they happen to notice that, and they're like, I don't know about this guy. And then the captain goes on to make Eugene's training even more hard. He's like putting this really big dude on top of Eugene, making him so like the push-ups are a lot harder. Eugene comes down from the little wall thing or whatever. Some dude jumps up and catapults Eugene all the way back up there. So man, things are not looking too good for our boy Eugene. But then ultimately we take a break from that. We go to Rapunzel. We see Rapunzel's mom visiting her, saying like, listen, I see you're still having trouble deciding on what kind of pose you want to do for your portrait, so why don't you come and follow me right over here. And we see that Rapunzel's mom shows Rapunzel what her painting used to be like, and oh my god, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. And the mom goes on to explain to Rapunzel like, listen, sometimes it's not about what you can do, but it's about who you are. And man, you gotta love those little meanings and stuff. It really makes you think outside the box right over here. So from there we go and see Eugene. He is pretty worn out and tired. We see Cassandra come in there and she's like, hey man, you ready to call it quits? And Eugene's like, listen, you just love to see that. Listen, doesn't even matter because the final test is tomorrow and your father hates me, so ultimately I'm probably not even gonna make it anyway. And Cassandra goes on to kind of give him a little bit of a pep talk, basically saying like, listen, for someone who used to break the rules to get what he wants, you're kind of having a hard time with somebody who's also breaking the rules to get what he wants, which kind of inspires Eugene a little bit. So we move on to the next day. You know, it's time for the final exam. We don't see Eugene over there. Maybe he's calling it quits. I don't think so, my boy. Eugene comes in a little bit late. He gets all sarcastic and everything. He's saying things like, sorry, Chief, I'm just so used to toning you out right over here. I didn't really quite catch that. Then the Chief kind of gets in his face saying like, you know, I can't believe you actually made it, but I'm actually kind of happy because I'm going to thrash you right now. The obstacle course begins. They have until like the little sand runs out, and once the whistle blows, it is over. So you know, Eugene is doing his thing. He's doing actually a pretty darn good job. The captain is doing everything in his power to make sure Eugene fails, but Eugene is just too good. He uses those parkour skills. He is rocking it right over there. And just when he's about to reach the finish line, he decides to go back and grab Shorty, put him on his shoulder right over there, and head back to the finish line. We see the little sand piece has run out, and then the Chief goes to grab his whistle so he can end it, but we see that Eugene stole it, who knows when, blows the whistle, and Eugene's like, hey, as long as you make it to the finish line before the whistle blows, you pass. So Eugene, using his skills and everything like that, he managed to pass. Remember, kids, always be yourself, I think is somewhat the lesson in this story right over here. But nonetheless, Eugene ends up winning, so now he can become a royal guard. Meanwhile, we finally go ahead and see Da Vinci. He makes his appearance right over here, and yeah, he's got a little bit of an attitude. As you can clearly see, he's quick-tempered and everything like that. He tells the guards like, what is the princess? Let me in there. Sorry if I'm offending anybody with my terrible Italian right over here. But nonetheless, the guards, they kind of let him in. He's just there, he's chilling. Then we go back to Eugene. We see he's all dressed up, and the man is looking good in that uniform right over there. He's like, all right, Chief, what do you need me to do? Gotta capture some bad guys, go Scooby-Doo in some kind of place or whatever. And the Chief gives him his role as a guard duty. He's to patrol the cells right over here. There's only one prisoner there, which was the prisoner that Eugene captured early on in the episode. And Eugene isn't really too thrilled about that. He's like, don't you think somebody with my skills and charisma should kind of be out there on the field instead of just standing here doing nothing, basically? But the captain's like, listen, you're not paid to think, you are paid to do your job, and that's that. Then we go back and see Da Vinci right over here. He is ready to paint Rapunzel's portrait. Rapunzel shows up with nothing right over there. She's just being casual and everything like that. Then we see Eugene come over there. He's like, hey, what's going on, Blondie? What's up? I see you went with the simple choice. Beautiful. Man, Eugene, I love that dude. He's so clever and everything like that. She's a little bit confused because Cassandra told her that Eugene is supposed to be on guard duty, and Eugene's like, oh no, I checked the cells twice so I can get double the break or whatever, something like that. Nah, I'm not even too good with it. But Rapunzel's like, I don't really think that works. But it basically, Da Vinci kind of ends up kicking Eugene out so he can continue on with his painting. Then we hear the captain yelling, calling for Eugene. Eugene goes down there, and we see that the prisoner has escaped, and Eugene's like, wait, how did that possibly happen? Well, since there's no guard over there, the prisoner took the opportunity to go ahead and pick the lock, and basically the chief ends up firing Eugene, so he is out of the royal guard. So we see Eugene and Shorty walking right over there. They end up bumping into Da Vinci. Da Vinci's like, would you watch where you're going, whatever like that. Eugene comes in, and Rapunzel's kind of confused, and so is Eugene. They're like, wow, this painting is pretty bad.
Oh gosh, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's not really looking too good. It's like, honestly, even I could do better than that. And then Eugene kind of looks up and he notices the painting of Robin the 11th, and he notices that something's wrong right over there, and that of course being that the painting only has 5 fingers instead of 6 fingers. So Eugene notices this right away. He goes to the captain. He's like, listen, captain, I know we're not really on the best terms with each other, but somebody has stolen the painting. It's a fraud, all that stuff. The captain doesn't want to hear that. He's like, listen, nothing has been stolen. My guards were doing their job like they're supposed to. And the guard's like, yeah, we just literally checked that like 5 minutes ago. Nothing was wrong with it. So Eugene ends up leaving. He's like, listen, I know something's wrong. I'm gonna go and solve the case myself. So we see Cassandra kind of come out there and be like, listen, you're not gonna do this alone. I'm gonna go with you. I guess you weren't known as a legend for not trusting your gut or whatever. And then she's basically like, besides, even if you're wrong, I'll be the first person to watch. So they end up teaming up, trying to go ahead and find the thief. Meanwhile, these other guards go back and they bring this dude that's tied up to the chief, and they're like, hey, we found this dude by the side of the castle. What should we do with him? And the dude ends up revealing that I am the real Da Vinci or whatever. So the captain's like, oh crap, and they go check out the painting right over there, and he notices that the painting is missing, and one of the guards is like, wow, do you know what this means? Flynn Rider, the captain's like, no, don't you dare finish that sentence right over here. So then we go and we see Cassandra and we see Eugene. They are heading towards the dock. We see that the boat is leaving. Maximus does some parkour skills and actually manages to land on top of the boat before it gets too far. We see Shorty kind of goes flying into the water. Cassandra saves him, but now it's ultimately up to Eugene and Maximus. They are on the boat. They are scouting, trying to find the dude. Eugene has his crossbow, but ultimately Eugene gets bodied by this thief who is of course pretending to be Da Vinci. And then he's like, arrivederci or whatever, and is about to shoot him. Ultimately fails because Eugene is like, safety number 1, always keep the safety on or whatever. So remember kids, always keep the safety on. That's the lesson to be learned right over here. Then we see Maximus just kind of basically drop kick the dude, and we see the painting ends up going flying. Luckily though, again, Eugene using his parkour skills, Eugene successfully manages to get the painting. Boom, they basically arrest the guy. They meet up with the guards. Eugene is talking to the chief, basically saying like, I knew something was wrong. That Italian accent was completely terrible and everything like that. And Eugene's like, what? I speak Italian. You know, there are things to steal in Italy as well. And then the chief is basically saying like, well, you know, perhaps I misjudged you, Ryder. And then Eugene's like, well, I know what you're gonna say. You want me back in the guards. Well, Captain. And honestly, I thought that's what the captain was gonna say too. But the captain's like, no, I don't think so, boy, because you as a guard are absolutely terrible. But I think I have something else that you can go ahead and do. And what the chief ends up doing is basically making Eugene a teacher to teach them about how to think like a thief, because of course that is what Eugene has been doing all his life. He is a thief, so he knows how a thief works. That is something that he learned from his personal experience. It's not something that you can just kind of figure out overnight. So I kind of like the idea of Eugene being a teacher, kind of telling these guys how a thief works. So boom, at the end of the day, remember kids, always be yourself. If you know something that someone else doesn't, you know, it can prove to be a big advantage on your part compared to the other person. You never know. I'm just saying there are all kinds of skills out there that do have some purpose and can help out in some way, shape, or form. But nonetheless, we move back to Cassandra and Rapunzel, and Cassandra's like, so, you sure you don't want Da Vinci to finish your painting? And Rapunzel's like, nah, I got that covered right over here. And we see Rapunzel's mom walking in the hallway, and we see the painting right over here. It's a painting done by Rapunzel. It's of her and her mother, and aw, isn't that just sweet?
Oh gosh, pal.
So boom, that basically ends the episode right over there. What can I say? I absolutely love this episode, mainly because it was focused on our boy Eugene right over here. And Eugene is funny. I love his personality, his charisma, his charm. The dude just always makes up for a good time right over here. So guys, what I would love to know in the comment section below is, what did you think of the episode? And if you liked the video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, as that really helps me out. And until next time guys, I will go ahead and say bye, pal. I'll see ya real soon.